There are three types of stretches that you can do to help loosen up a tight muscle. Now, if you were born in the 90s or before that, the type of stretching that you're doing to loosen up a tight muscle could actually be making it tighter and can actually damage your muscle. So let's talk about the three types and talk about the one that's best for loosening up tight muscles and which one you should actually avoid at all costs if possible so that your muscles can loosen up and relax and you don't have that tension and tightness in there. Okay? So what are the three types of stretches? The first one we have is called ballistic stretching, then we have static, then we have dynamic. Okay? So let's talk about static. Okay? So static stretching is when you're stretching something and you hold it. Okay? You just hold it and leave it and you feel that muscle being stretched. You can do that for pretty much any muscle in the body. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is you don't just want to hold it here for just a few seconds. For big muscle groups, what you want to do, and as long as there's no pain with this, you want to actually hold it for about 30 seconds, okay? So to get the best effect of loosening up a tight muscle, you want to do the static, which means you're not moving anything, you're just holding it very still in a stretched position for about 30 seconds, okay? The second type is dynamic. So dynamic stretches, for example, when you see basketball players kind of like jumping as they're starting to loosen up their muscles, or it can be me just kind of doing like this motion here to kind of loosen up my chest before I do some push-ups or something. That's perfectly okay too, and this is actually very important if you're going to be doing any kind of explosive movement. So if you're just sitting in an office, you don't necessarily want to do this pumping effect, this dynamic stretch. It's not bad, but you'd actually benefit more from doing a static stretch where you're holding it for about 30 seconds. Now, if you're going to be playing a sport or you're going to be hiking or doing some kind of movement, this is where that dynamic, that movement-based stretch is going to be really good. And you can march in place, you can, kick your back, kind of like to exaggerate the movement of the hike. Things like that will be excellent. Now, let's talk about the third one, which is the worst kind of stretching you can do. Now, up to, if you were born in the 90s and before that, this was actually the type of stretching that we thought was actually really good for you. And now, over the past 30 to 40 years, we've found that this type of stretching can actually damage your ligaments and your tendons, and it doesn't actually produce an effective result for relaxing and loosening up those tight muscles. So this worst kind of stretching is called ballistic stretching, okay? So using this, for example, what this would look like is you're stretching it out like this, but you're kind of pumping it like that, okay? This has been shown to not really be too effective, and actually if your muscles are in fact really tight, it can actually damage them, and nothing too significant, but if this is the type of stretch that you're doing on a regular basis, that kind of damage over a period of time isn't going to be very good for the muscles and tendons there. Okay, same thing. Sometimes you'll see people, twisting to a side and just kind of pumping it. You don't want to do that either. It's not good for your spine, it's not good for your ligaments, and it's not good for the muscles in the long term. Okay, so if you do have back pain, if you have a headache, if you're carrying a lot of your stress here, what you want to do is you just want to hold that stretch for about 30 seconds. Okay, now if 30 seconds is too much, work your way up to it. You don't have to force it. Do 10 seconds at a time until eventually after a few days you can hold it for 30 seconds. And remember, you're not pumping like this, okay? You're just holding it and really focusing on breathing. If you're going to be doing any kind of movement-based activity, whether it's exercise or stretching or playing a sport or hiking, then you can also do that, but I encourage you to do dynamic stretching, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna, exaggerate the motions that you're gonna be doing, and this is gonna bring more blood flow to the muscles so that you can get into the game, minimizing risk of injury, and at all costs avoid any kind of stretch where you're constantly, tugging on it. So some people, when they touch their toes, they're kind of bouncing, trying to get deeper in there. not good for the hamstrings, not good for the low back. Okay, so with that being said, guys, good luck with everything, and let me know if you found this helpful. Take care.